The Battle of Britain might have been over, but the nighttime bombing of British cities was not.
The Blitz began with 57 consecutive nights of raids on London. One of the most devastating raids, however, was on Coventry on the 14th of November 1940. Hour after hour of bombing induced near panic and destroyed the city centre. By the time the Blitz ended in May 1941, some 43,000 civilians had been killed, half of them in London. The government feared that a shelter mentality would develop if people were provided with central deep shelters in London. Instead, they encouraged people to construct weak, shallow Anderson shelters in their back gardens. The rich faced no such problems. One American journalist went to the Dorchester Hotel, where he discovered that the management had converted the cellars into expensive luxury shelters. 9 peers slept there every night. One of them was Lord Halifax, the Foreign Secretary. Throughout the night, he stayed well supplied by a waiter with his favourite brand of whiskey. Ordinary people started taking matters into their own hands. In some places, those taking refuge published their own magazines, such as the Hampstead Shelterers Bulletin. A network of contacts throughout London grew up. In November 1940, a conference was held. A total of 79 delegates from 50 shelters decided to form the London Underground Station and Shelterers Committee. They elected 2 implacable socialists, Harry Ranter and Alfie Bass, later to become a well-known television comedian, as their secretaries. The authorities in London, after being put under very considerable pressure from public opinion, did make use of about 80 underground stations to shelter about 177,000 people. There was a similar political battle being fought on the airwaves. J.B. Priestley was a nationally known novelist, columnist and playwright. The BBC offered him a Sunday evening radio programme called Postscripts. Priestley developed a vision of a people's war, one championing not only military conflict against Hitler and the Nazis, but also the struggle to build a society where the festering sores on the diseased body would not return. At the programme's peak, about 40% of the population tuned in to hear Priestley's broadcasts. The message was not welcomed by Winston Churchill. He argued that Priestley was a diversion from the need to focus on the military effort, and leading Tories were angered by his socialist ideas. The BBC booted Priestley off the slot after just 6 months. A second series, in early 1941, lasted for just 8 broadcasts. In 1941, Hitler was the conqueror of Europe. Despite the fact that Hitler had failed to mount an invasion of Britain, Britain could not win the war alone.